Welcome you all to Blissful Literati, where today we are going to talk about subject verb agreement. The agreement between subject and verb is one of the essential conditions which makes a sentence correct. A sentence is basically made up of two parts, subject and predicate. Now, subject, as you can see here in the title, is there. Now, about the predicate part, the most important part of a predicate is its verb. So, until and unless the subject agrees with the verb, a sentence can never be correct. So, it is very important to understand how these two work. And we will go through the rules one by one. And of course, it is advisable that you sit with your pen and paper so that you can continue taking notes, which will help you later on. So, let's begin. First of all, a sentence is made up of, as I said, subject and predicate. Now, again, I am repeating the subject. What is the subject? The subject is basically a collection of noun or pronoun. They can be phrases, they can be a single word. So, the subject of a sentence, what I'm trying to say, can be a very short one, limited to just one single word, or it can take up as many words as it may need. Pronouns, the same thing. So what we should focus on these two parts. We should focus on the person of the subject, whether it is first person, second person, or third person, and its number, whether it is singular or plural. Verbs, on the other hand, represent the action words or the auxiliary verbs. There are modal verbs as well, but modal verbs, they don't undergo the changes, or they don't force other verbs to change the way they do these things. The action words and the auxiliary verbs, they are subject to the change. So what we will learn in this chapter is basically the rules and laws according to which noun or pronoun, depending on their number and person, can influence the action words or the auxiliary verbs. How these things are dependent on each other and change accordingly. So, this is what we will learn in our chapter subject verb agreement. So, let's move on. The next thing that we will learn about this chapter is the noun and pronoun part. What are these noun and pronoun? You see, noun and pronoun, depending on the person, can take on various forms. For example, in the first person, we may use the pronoun I play. In plural, it is we play. So, subject and verb, no changes. I play, we play. Only the pronoun from I, it becomes we. Second person remains completely same in both. You can say the verb or you can say the pronoun you. Third person is the tricky portion. As you can see here, we have the he, she, it plays. Third person singular or singular third person takes s or es as per the verb, and in plural it retains the primary form play, they play. Now what we need to understand is that third person singular does not only take he, she, it, these pronouns. They can take any common and proper noun. So the noun part of our discussion comes only in the third person. Whenever we are using any name in the text, we are talking about third person. All right. And obviously any common noun like boy, girl, Ram, Sham, anything will come under third person singular, and in plural they all become they. Now let's move on to the agreement part. First of all, we will have the and agreement. What happens when we use this and in a sentence or between words? Basically, two things happen. See, and is just like using and is just like doing a chemical reaction. When you are experimenting with different elements, two things basically happens. First thing that can happen is a new element can be created, like for example take hydrogen and oxygen, and when you mix these two together what you get is water. Water, on the other hand, it doesn't retain, if you look at it physically, it doesn't retain the properties of either hydrogen or oxygen. Water does not help in burning, nor does it burn on its own. It is not a gaseous substance, right? It is liquid. So a new element is created. On the other hand, we can have a complete element which retains its properties. So creating of new elements can actually mean one unique idea. When we bring, like the example, hydrogen, oxygen becomes water. So basically two elements, when we're talking about ideas, you take two separate ideas, unique ideas, and when you combine them, they become a completely unique, different kind of idea, which is totally new. On the other hand, you can have, as I said, the old elements may stay intact. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that different individual ideas, they come together. They come together, but they don't lose their property, their identity. They are there, but as their own. They stand on their own, right? So these two things may happen. Now, when we talk about unique idea, what we have, let's have some examples like bread and butter. Think about it. You have bread on your plate and butter on another plate. You don't eat bread and then chew on some butter. You apply the butter on the bread and make it a butter toast. So bread and butter becomes one. Similarly, rice and beans, like rajma chawal. When you're having rice and beans, you don't do these things separately, or curry, rice and curry, for example. You mix the two things and make it one, right? And then you eat it. Apart from that, when you say time and tide, time and tide are two different things. One is abstract, another you can see on the ocean, right? But when you talk about time and tide together, you are basically talking about one unique idea. Time and tide waits for none. Similarly, if we talk about slow and steady, or slow but steady, you are talking about a unique quality, right? Which helps you win. Slow and steady wins the race. So when you talk about being slow and steady, you are not exactly suggesting two different qualities. What you are doing, you are suggesting these two qualities as one unique idea. When you say stripes and stars, note the capital S. This is important. Stripes and stars, both the S are capitalized. Why? Because they are not just any stripes or any stars. They represent the stripes and stars which you can see on the national flag of US of A, United States of America. So stripes and stars basically represent the national flag of America. So what we have here, all these things, bread and butter, rice and beans, time and tide, slow and steady, stripes and stars, all these are singular idea. And for this, we will use singular verb. Singular idea will take singular verb. That is quite easy. Now, when we talk about different ideas which come together, yes, different individual ideas, but they retain their own identity, they retain their individuality. In that case, for example, we can have man and woman. When you say man and woman or men and women, these two groups of two very different genders, they don't just become one, one body. They don't become like that. They don't mix together to make one single whole. Or say, for example, boys and girls. You bring some boys, you bring some girls, you have a school, you have a classroom, but boys and girls, they don't become one body. They retain their own individual identity as boy and girl. Similarly, you have pen and pencil. Again, they are unique, individual, and when you bring them together, they don't magically become one whole thing. Yes, today you can have pen or pencils when on one end you have a pen, on the other end you have a pencil. Yes, that is true, but that is again a totally different kind of construction, a different instrument, implement with which you write or check the copies, papers, grade. When we talk about pen and pencil, the traditional one, Nataraj, for example, pencil, Nataraj pencils and Link pens, you get two different sets and they remain so. Next, we have, say, for example, nouns, Raja and Nitin. When Raja and Nitin comes together, they remain Raja and Nitin only. They don't become one single person. Or for example, say puppy and kittens. Puppy is one, kittens are many. But when you bring them together, they remain. Puppy remains puppy, kittens remains kitten. Puppy doesn't become kitten, or neither kitten becomes puppies. So what we have here, we have plural ideas. These things, man, woman, boy, girl, pen, pencil, they're plural. They don't become one. They don't represent one unique entity. They are together, but they retain their individuality. So they are plural ideas. And here we use plural verb. If we move on to the next part, let us have some images. For example, you can see there are these two people, right? Two sports person, two sports people. They are playing baseball. The men are playing baseball. Men, plural, are playing. So plural subject, plural verb. Men are. As you can see here, some boys are there in this image, and what they're doing, they're swimming. So the boys are swimming. One important thing you have to remember, I'm sure that you know this, but still I must tell you, because sometimes what happens, people get confused when you are using a singular subject, singular noun or singular pronoun, and you're using singular verb in case of third person, especially in case of third person. Remember, singular noun, they don't take s or es. Singular nouns don't take s or es. They come as their root form. Plural nouns, on the other hand, they take s or es, like boy, singular, no s, but boys, plural, it is taking s. On the other hand, when we are talking about singular verb and plural verb, they behave in the exact opposite way when it comes to third person singular. In third person singular, singular verb takes s or es, right? Singular verb takes, takes. Singular verbs, plural, take, take. So plural verbs, they don't take s or es. Singular verbs, they take s or es. Just the opposite of singular and plural nouns. Remember that, this cross connection. Singular nouns don't take s or es. Singular verbs take s or es. Plural nouns don't take, plural nouns take s or es. Plural verbs don't take s or es. Remember that. Moving on to the next part, let's have some examples. So, for examples, we have the boy and the girl are going to school. Now, if you pay attention, what we have here, the boy and the girl, this entire thing is the subject. And not just any subject. We have two elements, boy, girl. So this is plural subject. Similarly, we have the people gather in the market square. So what we have here, the people. Now, one single is person, many becomes people. So the people, which is a plural subject, and as you can see, gather, plural verb. Plural verb not taking s or es after as it ends. Next we have they have gone to the beach. They again is the subject, single word, and it is taking a plural verb, single word, but they represents plural. Many people, they have gone to the beach. Akash, Ravi, Vijay, and Jackie. This entire thing, Akash, Ravi, Vijay, Jackie, these four people, they our childhood friends. Friends, plural. Names, four people, therefore plural, and therefore plural subject, plural verb are. Let us have singular now. Benito is an Italian. Benito, one person, one individual. Therefore, it is singular, and as you can see, we are using is, the singular form of be verb. Note, be verb in singular, third person singular becomes is, plural are. So, in singular, we are taking s or es, in plural, no s or es. Meena goes to the park every Tuesday. Meena, again, singular, one girl, goes to the park, singular verb. Singular noun does not take s or es, singular verb takes s or es, goes, es. So, singular subject. The mobile phone is on charge. And I know very well that you have guessed the subject. Yes, the mobile phone. One phone, therefore, obviously singular subject. Similarly, you can easily guess this last one. The biker gang and the mafia lord working in the Indraprastha city area have fallen out lately. As you can see, the subject here is a bit long. The biker gang and the mafia lord, two parties involved, connected by and. Therefore, it is a plural subject we have here, and the verb have fallen out. Have, plural verb. So these are the examples which we are talking about right now. Next, we have again some images to help us grasp the idea. The stars and stripes which I was talking about, as you can see, what we have here, the stars and stripes flies high in the sky. It should have been plural, right? The stars and stripes fly high in the sky, but no. Actually, stars and stripes, these two ideas come together to indicate one thing: the flag, the national flag of the US of A. So it is singular, flies high. Similarly, if we look at this image, rice and beans, one single entity, rice and beans are mixed together. One dish we are having, rice and beans, is my favorite dish because they are one. They come together and they become one. Rice and beans. Similarly, if we have this breakfast material, bread and butter, right? Bread and butter is my usual breakfast. Whenever I'm having my breakfast, usually I take bread and butter. I apply the butter on the bread and I eat it. So they together become one whole unit and thus represents a singular idea, bread and butter. One singular breakfast dish. So that is about the and agreement. And just to recap, if you remember, they indicate plurality. When, when the individuals retain their identity. On the other hand, you can join things together with and, but if they become one, they represent a single idea. Bread and butter, stars and stripes, time and tide, slow and steady, they represent one idea and therefore they take a singular verb. Now let us have some articles. Today we will end our discussion with this article part because articles, this discussion also centers on and. Let's see how they center on and. First of all, we have the image of a person. You can understand that this person is the poet. And this person, the way he's explaining, white hair, gray hair, suited, everything. Let's say this is the president. Now, how does it work? What does article do? The poet and the president have arrived. Note the use of the poet and the president. What we are doing, we are using the twice. The poet and the president. In this case, we mean two different persons. Whoever is the poet and whoever is the president, they are two completely different persons, right? So they have arrived, the poet and the president. If we use a pronoun to replace them, the pronoun which we will use is they. They have arrived. But suppose we say the poet and president has arrived. Because in this case, the poet and president, note I have removed one the poet and president. So basically, what this means that the poet and president, they are just title. Basically, they represent, we are talking about only one person. Whoever is the poet, he himself is the president. So we are talking about one person. So when you are adding article, you mean two different individuals. But cut off one article, remove it, you mean one single person. Let us have another example on this. My best friend and confidant has decided to move away. Whoever is my best friend, that person alone is my confidant, right? So, not just article. What I'm trying to show with this example is that not just articles. Articles are the most famous thing in this case, right? But we are actually talking about determiners. If you use multiple determiners, that can mean different people. If you use a singular determiner, only once you use a determiner, it will mean one single person. My best friend and confident, they are actually not they. It is one he or she. He has decided or she has decided to move away. One single person. So this is our basic idea. Just remember this. To recap, if we want to recap the point, remember and actually means two things, right? One single idea. Okay, you join multiple ideas, they become one, or you join various ideas and they retain their own identity. In the first case, if they mean one idea, use a singular verb. But if they mean multiple things, individuality, if they retain their individuality, you use a plural verb. Also, note the use of article. If there are multiple articles before each noun phrase or pronoun phrase or noun or pronoun, you will have basically multiple people. But if you have only one article, no matter how many nouns are there, common, proper, how many nouns are there, no, it doesn't matter. If you use the article or the determiner only once, you mean only one person. We will end our discussion here, and next time we will start with the usage of comma in case of subject and verb agreement, how comma impacts the agreement. So till now, see you have understood it well or not. If you have any doubt, any question regarding this topic, do contact us. This is basically a bit confusing. I won't say difficult, but a bit confusing. But if you understand it once, you understand it for your life. You will never forget it. So, till we meet again, bye.